Holy crap. Can you imagine deathbed added 15 years of life? Like, science. Hey guys, it's Tara here on Staying Salty, and I upload to this channel every Saturday to wrap up our weekly discussions. And this week's topic is transplant in cystic fibrosis.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.
All right, so quick summary for those of you that are new tuning in this week. I have had a double lung transplant nearly 6.5 years ago now, and as of this Sunday, May 6th, so the day after this goes live, I will have been waiting 2 years now for a retransplant due to rejection, so I'm waiting for another double lung transplant. So I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible and focus on just my thoughts on transplant and how I decided to go through with it, not once but twice now, and just kind of, I guess, the thought process on all of that. So my first transplant, I was only 18, and I had been the healthiest I ever was with CF my grade 11 year, and by the end of my grade 12 year was when transplant was first mentioned to me. Within a year of the first hospital stay that I had leading up to my transplant, I had new lungs. Just being told I needed that transplant was not what convinced me to list, surprisingly enough. So going home for me was really the eye-opener for how sick I was. I got home and I realized that climbing the 15 steps in my parents' house up to my bedroom was like hell. And similar to, I would say, climbing my very own Mount Everest. So just that, and I'm like, okay, well, I can make it work that I only have to go up those stairs once a day, and that is at the end of my day. So then it was brushing my teeth. Felt like I was running sprints again, like I did in track and field in elementary school. I was out of breath. I couldn't brush my teeth for more than 10-15 seconds at a time without having to catch my breath. I slowly was unable to shower because it was just too exhausting. So my sisters were washing my hair in the sink for me. And then the Christmas Eve party rolled around, and I didn't want to talk to anyone because I was exhausted from just getting ready for the day, which involved maybe showering and putting on normal clothes that weren't pajamas. And I am a big social person. I always talk to everybody. I'm chatty. I go out to social functions all the time. And to realize that, talking was exhausting, and that's a big part of who I am. That was when I really my head kind of flipped, and I went, okay, maybe I am kind of sick. Looking back, I was very sick. When I finally listed for lungs, I was listed very high priority. I was lucky enough that I hadn't pushed it too long to list, so that I was still I still qualified to list. I wasn't too sick, but a very fine line there. I got a call within 11 days. The lungs were good to go, and in surgery, 9.5 hours out, recovered, no issues, and boom, done. So my thoughts on transplant, I never had time to really think about it too much and get too invested in it and overthink things and question things and let statistics kind of, hit you in the face and go, I don't know if I want to do this. Because our bodies are used to being sick. We've been taking pills our entire lives. We're used to the stress and strains that an illness puts on your body. So not to downplay the surgery is huge, and it's a big, crazy recovery. And I was mind blown that I was discharged, I believe it was 16 days post, when I'd been in the hospital for 2.5 months because I had a cold. just 3-4 months before that. But I mean, our bodies are amazing. We're so resilient. We have been fighting since day one. And transplant, I think when it was first mentioned to me, which I want to say it was in May of 2011. Yes. And at that point it was, if you don't improve during this stay, which was a different stay compared to the one I was in for 2.5 months, we will have to discuss lung transplant. So I was kind of like in one ear out the other, because it was if the meds don't work, and I was always so hopeful that the meds were going to work. I switched to Toronto because they could do different med combinations and they could run different tests than London could. And I think that also made my decision to list a lot easier, because I knew that I had done everything possible to improve my health, through studies, through medication changes, through trials, through, even desensitizing to some medications and trying those. We'd run every test in the books. I was eating as much as I could to put weight on. I was even giving insulin, and I was not diabetic. We had tried everything to improve my health. And I think in knowing that, transplant kind of came as just the next step. It was the next treatment plan to say yes to, because when you are approached with the transplant talk, if your team has managed it right and timed it right, which is very rare, it is a do or die situation. You're not necessarily dying tomorrow, but the reason they are approaching you is because an organ in your body is failing. And at 18, it was, I had just been brought up to always try this med, do this med, anything to make you, your prognosis better. And even being the healthy kid that I was, I never thought twice about doing extra treatments or more meds or different things, even though I didn't see the impact right away. I mean, medicine is always changing and evolving. And I just kind of have the mindset of, you don't stop or say no to anything that might improve your odds, because I want to live, and that's what it comes down to for me. It's the difference between being able to keep up with my 2 dogs and to eventually have my own kids and to have my name on a house that I share with my fiance, and to have a job and feel like I'm productive in a day. That's just, I guess, my mentality of things. And so it was a no-brainer. And I mean, I was so sick, I was out of it. The first time around, at least, that, it was, yeah, go ahead, let's do this. Second transplant. So obviously I have said yes to listing twice now. I rejected 22 months post. We did the steroid bolus treatment, with no success. Then I did a plasmapheresis, so filtering all my antibodies out. While I was in for that treatment, I contracted RSV. So the team can't say whether, the 2 typical rejection treatments did not work, or if the RSV kind of solidified my rejection, or if it was a combination of the 2, or if I just had another type of rejection that they don't know about, because transplant is new, and it's like CF. We don't know all the answers. We don't have a cure. It's not perfect. So I rejected. I was confirmed chronic in May 2014, and I went through assessment to list in June 2014. I was told I'm a good candidate for a retransplant, but the team felt that I was also at a point to try to remain stable, health and number wise. I had dropped from 91% lung function down to 50% overnight. And then over the next 2 months, I got all the way down to 30%. So obviously there was this huge change, but my body adapted because I have CF and my body is used to low lung function. Living with normal, healthy people lungs was honestly like every day was a dream. I didn't have to think about breathing. I didn't feel every breath I was taking. It wasn't a struggle. I didn't have to think CF. I didn't have to do treatments. I still don't do treatments. I take a handful of pills morning and night. 100,000 1,000, 10 times, percentage, anything, I would say yes to transplant over and over and over. I'd say yes to it being 3 days out of surgery and having to go under again. It was that worth it. I only got 22 months. I have friends who are 10 years out, and as much as I wanted to have those 10 years of good health and not have to go through this surgery again, I still said yes to going through it again. And I will say yes when that call comes in that they have lungs for me. Right now. No, I wish I could get a phone call right now. And then by the time this goes live, I would be in surgery for lungs maybe. I'll keep you updated if that does happen. But it's just, I think when the time comes, and I hate saying this because I hated everyone who told it to me, but it is a personal decision, and you will know when the time is right. It's just, you'll have your aha, your brain will click in. You'll be brushing your teeth and realize it's exhausting and that brushing your teeth should not be that tiring. And you'll agree to go on the list. As much as my lung function numbers have declined, I'm currently at 0.7 liters of function, which is, depending on the day and my weight, anywhere from 20 to 23% function. It just, this time was a quality of life decision. And that was hard for me because that is more of an emotional and mental decision than it being only physical the first time around with my CF. It became a quality of life decision, which is the hardest decision I've ever made. And I worked with the social worker to kind of go through, kind of questions and debates of what do you want to be doing in life and how long can you postpone those things before your life becomes just nothing. So end of the day, to kind of, summarize all of that, it is a you decision. Your support group should factor into that, but you have to be okay with your decision. You have to know that you've given your all and that this is the choice you're making, and it's not you giving up. It's not you being lazy. It's you saying, I want to keep fighting. I'm going to take all the tools I can, and I'm going to keep living, and I'm going to strive to move forward and reach these goals in my life. And it's a tough decision, but I decided to list when I was graduating because I'd cut my program short, and it was, I said, this is the best timing. I'm done school. I can't work. We've tried working and I just get sick. Timing wise in my life, this is the best time to do so. And that helped make my decision. And I'm glad that I've been stable enough to wait 2 years for lungs. And it has only been, I want to say, the last 6 to 8 months where I'm to a point of getting fed up with being on the list. I'm ready for that new set of lungs, and I'm tired. I'm ready to be done with this limbo life of sick and not being in hospital sick because there is nothing that can be done about my rejection. Oxygen doesn't help because I have healthy lungs. They're just scarred. They just do not close and open to breathe properly. And this is my go-to. I have to remind myself, the airway is scarred. It doesn't work. So this time around was definitely harder. And I don't regret listing when I did at all. I don't regret putting it off for those 2 years so that I was able to go to school. And I just, don't tell me everything happens for a reason because I will smack you across the face. It just, I got to a point where I realized this is the best time in my life to go through with this again. This is when it all is going to work out again. This is when it's ideal. Not that it's ever ideal to need a transplant. So it's a very personal decision. And as much as your numbers and your weight, your lung function, your, mutations, your cultures, all of that plays a role in deciding, end of the day, you have to be okay with your decision. You have to make your decision. And that is the hard part. And there is no right or wrong way. So I guess I'll kind of wrap things up here by saying, please reach out with your questions or comments. I could talk for days about this kind of transplant life. I love my transplant. I love my lungs. I would like new ones. But transplant is amazing. And I love that we live in a world where that's a possibility. So below social media channels, and I have my email in there as well if you're not wanting to comment or ask questions or share publicly. Stay in touch with us. Next week we have a guest speaker and I'm really excited to hear from them. I hope you guys tune in for that. After that, we're on our 2-week break before a new season starts. New seasons are always fun. So let us know topics you want to hear. Talk with us. Stay in touch over the 2 weeks. I mean, we don't just disappear for 2 weeks like genies in a bottle and pop back out for the next season. So stay in touch on all of our social media channels. And in the meantime, just remember to stay salty.